Hey, what's up, everybody? So, straight up, first off, Mutahar. I'm gonna watch your video. I already cut out 55 seconds. Hopefully that's enough cutting out of it that I have to do. If I end up watching it to the end, it's because I am enthralled by what you have to say and I want to keep listening. That's about it. I'll try to add as much feedback as possible. I know that you aren't the guy that is against this type of thing. You're against the certain way that people do it. Certain people. But yeah, Destiny 2 is in a terrible spot right now. I started to watch this a little bit, and I feel like as somebody that played Destiny 1 religiously, I would say, I played it all day, every day. To set fire team, we raided, every day. We ran bounties every day. In our group chat, same set of people. A couple of guest stars would come in every now and then for raids, but generally it was like the same group of three to five people. And yeah, we got down and dirty with Destiny all the time. So I want to see what he has to say about it and what I agree or disagree with.
That in years at this point, okay? If I'm gonna be honest with you, now Destiny 2 is one of those games where I'm gonna straight up say it, it's a good game.
Destiny 2 is a good game. The only problems that I can say with Destiny 2 is its live service, and it's gotten too big, and they're cutting out a lot of content that I think is doing a disservice to the people that made that content and the game's story and life cycle. I think that new players should come in and be able to experience the game from day one to the final days. When it gets to the point where the content they already experienced, like the main story, becomes trivial, maybe they already beat it, they can then opt to delete all of the content that they don't want clogging up their entire hard drive. But Destiny 2 is a good game for what I think he's saying here.
It plays well, and
Yes.
if you want to ask my history of Destiny, I'm not the most active player, so this is a video that's coming from the perspective of somebody that doesn't dump 80 hours a week into this game. When Destiny 1 came out, I loved that, okay? One of my most played PS4 games at the time.
Yes, absolutely, and probably one of my most played PS4 games ever, because while I have put a lot of time into other games, I don't think I put the length and depth that I put into Destiny 1 over the span of time that I did.
Played the heck out of the PvE. I would play the multiplayer as much as I would play something like Halo. I'm not even joking. It was that good. Now, when Destiny 2 came out, I was like, all right, I'm ready. I'm down. I'm going to jump onto the train. And I played it for a bit, fell off. And every time I try loading up Destiny 2, it is a good game. It plays well. It's a decent looter shooter. It runs decent. The only reason...
Yes, these are all true things. It runs well. It's coded pretty well. Like, you can tell that some very talented people put a lot of hard work into that game. And it is definitely worth playing. Considering I think a lot of it is free, although it's like weird. Trying to play free is awkward because you're missing like the best content, really.
The reason I honestly don't play it as much is because I use Linux, and Bungie hates Linux users, Steam Deck users, so, they don't want my money. Bye-bye. I have a Windows system back there that occasionally I fire up a lot of those games on.
That's what console is good for, but it's good to see as another computer.
Just so I don't, break any rules. But the game plays well, okay? Anybody can load up Destiny 2 and say, yeah, it's a decent enough game. It's a fine looter shooter. The problem with it is, like, before you get to the, the game part, you always have to dodge the stupid cash shop in the beginning. Every time you load up Destiny 2, it's like...
Yes, that's kind of what I'm saying. If you're free, it's basically like a cash shop pops up anytime you try to do something. Because a lot of it's locked behind an expansion you don't have. So there's only like very certain things you can do, and then a quest might say, hey, go do this thing in an area you don't have access to. Oh, you gotta buy it.
You're like Neo from the Matrix trying to avoid all the fucking stores that are invading you.
Yep.
Now, to understand, Destiny 2's breakdown is like this, okay? You sign onto the game, You go to the hub world, you have a bunch of quests that you can do, and generally you can choose to play the game, you know, in PvE fashion. You can do Vanguard missions. If you like PvP, you can do the Crucible. And if you like, you know, the Gambit, which is like PvE VP, you know, like teams of 4 and a bunch of AI, then that's...
There is a lot of good modes if you're a PvP Andy. I think it's I had a lot of fun playing Destiny PvP. I'm not a PvP Andy either, but when I was with the boys, with the fire team, it didn't matter what we were doing. It didn't matter if we were doing raids, doing strikes, doing PvP. We were having a good fucking time.
You know, your level up tree right there. And generally, I've always felt that if you liked a certain aspect of this game, you could just exclusively play that and earn whatever, you know, gear set you wanted. Now, there is a definite grind to Destiny, okay? There's a 40-hour work week requirement. But then again, in modern live service games, when is that concept not true, sadly? Now, literally a couple days ago, Destiny posted Bungie posted the most cope thread I've ever seen in my life. Now, Bungie, who recently did split, not recently, but they split away from Activision. I think now they're part of like Sony. So
the funniest part about this is people are like, yes, oh, Bungie's leaving Activision. Finally, they're not going to suck. Finally, they're going to care about the players. They're not going to be as greedy and predatory. Guess what? Bungie left Activision. They got worse. They got much worse.
So to understand, this is the state of the game, August 2023, posted literally yesterday, okay? And this is where, like, they pretty much tell people to lower their expectations for their game. Now,
well, yeah, I mean, realistically, the game's over. The game's dead. They had a 10-year plan for Destiny, and 10 years has passed. Destiny 1, Destiny 2, it's been roughly 10 years. Game over, folks. Story's over. Marathon is the next thing.
Generally speaking, there are two facets of Destiny 2 that have a pretty sizable player base. One of them is the PvP, because it's a, you know, it's a shooter game. You're gonna have a PvP segment. And Gambit players, which again is the PvE VP. So let's go into it, okay? Guardians versus Guardians. Thanks to the hard work of multiple teams, we've delivered several additions to PvP over the past few seasons. This includes the launch of Competitive Division, blah, 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 revamp of the Trials of Osiris, whatever. The most frequent feedback we see is that there is just not enough new PvP content, specifically new maps. To set expectations, our studio structure is built to support more overarching updates to PvP like the ones above, rather than focusing exclusively on maps. When we do focus our resources...
That's fucking stupid. If people want maps, maps are probably easier to make than entire new modes, which you have to make maps for as well. In some cases, like Gambit, like, come on, what the fuck are you doing? Take environments from the game and figure out how to cut it down into a playable space for PvP. Like, come on, it can't be that hard.
Resources on building new maps, it comes with a trade-off to multiple teams' bandwidth on work that contributes to a variety of experiences the players hold dear, such as the new story and the exotic mission content. So again, pretty much...
From what I understand, nobody liked the new story. And the exotic mission content is like, yeah, it's cool, but... like, that just because they're making those exotic missions and the environments for that doesn't mean that they can't make PvP environments as well. It just doesn't make any sense.
Building new maps for this game takes away the resources from, I guess, other parts of the game that people play. Now, because these are live service games, they're usually...
Other parts of the game, which again, they have to make environments and maps for in many cases.
usually filled with all the analytics a growing fucking boy needs. And for a lot of these people, they have massive teams that basically analyze this data. And, you know, from a sound business perspective, they're probably better off spent putting money into places where the majority of the player base lies, okay? They know that if like 30% of the audience plays PvP material, they're probably going to put more effort and money into like the campaign side. Do I think that's okay? It's a great business sense, but generally the idea here is that, you know, people who are starved for content should just temper their expectations, okay? Because they're pretty much not important enough. With that said, we have some exciting content coming to PvP this month. Oh yeah, what do you got going on here, buddy? Update on our advances to game security to combat cheaters. Boy, that, you know, that is like the most generic shit that any live service game can say.
Yeah, that's like bug fixes and stability. That's like a stability patch. Like, okay, what does that mean? Yeah, just bug fixes and stability issues. Like, what bug fixes and stability issues? Like, who gives a fuck? You do that every patch. You should be doing that every patch. What did you actually do?
We're updating our anti-cheat, okay? You're gonna get less cheaters. Every game does this, okay? Thank you for basically stating something that everyone already knew. Now, for Season 20...
Except for Blizzard, apparently they just let cheaters run rampant in their games, you know, bots. Games like Lost Ark and WoW, they just let bots run rampant, and they don't give a fuck. They can't hire a single fucking person to deal with that problem. Nope, not one. That would require paying somebody.
22. God, that's a lot of seasons, man. We have a new Vex network-themed map debuting along with the new Relic 6v6 mode. So I guess...
Yeah, see? So they make a new mode, they need a new map, right? But so they only make new maps when new modes require it. They can't do new maps without new modes. That just doesn't make any sense. That's too much work. But making a whole new map with a whole new mode, that's child's play. Easy. You can do that in seconds.
You know, you got this new kind of like cyberpunky map. Speaking of the last expansion, Lightfall, probably one of the most dog shit expansion packs. Can I just explain one of the biggest issues I have with Destiny? Primarily, and one of the reasons why my friends don't get into this game. When you buy Destiny 2, you're not just buying a game, okay? You're buying the ability to walk into a store, okay? And what I mean by that is, anytime I pitch this game, I'm like, hey, you guys want to get into some Destiny 2 with me? Oh, sure, Muda, I'd love to. And then you open up the store and you look up the prices for the expansion packs, and all your friends are like, yeah, I'm kind of good, man. I mean, you know, say what you will about GTA Online, but you buy the game once and you can grind for all the expansion stuff that comes out. Destiny... Better get ready to take out some second mortgages, okay, to keep up with this game's pricing scheme.
Oh my god, is he fucking right? Holy shit. Bungie, like I said, man, when people were like, yes, Bungie's leaving Activision, they're not going to be as greedy. No, they got worse. And now let me tell you, first of all, Destiny 1, let me tell you how bad it was. They sold an incomplete game. It was widely known and acknowledged that the game was incomplete. They chopped the story. Everything was rearranged. It was like this whole like controversy about how like the composer left, the story writer left, all these people left the company because the game wasn't being made the way they want. They completely chopped the story and reorganized it, and it was an abomination. It was a mess. They cut content out so they could sell it later as DLCs. Yeah, it was fucking bullshit. So you buy Destiny 1, right? And then it's like, oh, the season pass. You think, oh, with the season pass, you buy that. You basically, so you go, okay, you buy the game, you spend $50, you get the season pass, right? $100, not a big deal. Ooh. You get Destiny 1, you got the season pass, $100 in. The season pass came with 2 expansions that were obviously cut content, and then and like that was it. But they promised, like, the way they talked about it, they promised like it was like everything. You buy the season pass, you're gonna get everything else that comes with the game. That was not the case. One expansion comes out, soon thereafter another one comes out, another one. eventually you get to the point you're $200 deep in Destiny 1. Yes. $200 I spent to play that game over time, essentially. Now, you know, it is what it is. When you buy a box cost game, you buy an expansion pack for a game, if it's sizable enough, sure, it is what it is. But they started to create this trend where they were promising these great expansion packs, and then they were selling this overpriced bullshit in massive amounts, right? So when they left Activision, people were like, oh my God, thank God. These practices are going to be gone. They promised that they were going to do microtransactions, and those were going to, the profits from the microtransactions were going to pay for the design of the event, the seasonal events, and additional content that would be added to the game. Everything was going to be free from that point on, except for like major expansions. But everything else was going to be free as long as there's microtransactions. No, that was not really the case either, because it was basically just a bunch of microtransactions and then not really any interesting free content and just paid expansion packs, which they eventually had so many of expansion packs, they have to remove 90% of the game because the game's too much of a game. You know? It's just so weird. But let me get back to Mutahar.
And obviously, Bungie, you know, big company, all right? I believe they're in the multi-billions, all right? In fact, not just Bungie.
Bungie is a multi-dollar company, for sure. They are definitely a multi-dollar company. They are up there with Blizzard and Square Enix as multi-dollar companies. Definitely highest quality of games, right?
But they're also pretty much like, they have a ownership stake from Sony. Money shouldn't be an issue, all right? If you need to produce more content, I would highly consider you guys build bigger teams or build newer teams to help supplement you, okay? So Gambit, all right, I told you. As many of you notice, we've been quiet on Gambit since last year's overhaul that launched alongside the Witch Queen, which, I will say, was a pretty decent expansion. In that revamp, the team made significant changes across 5 categories, okay? But they also say, while we don't have plans to dedicate more resources to significantly transform Gambit, we do have a few updates planned for the year of the final shape. These include porting the Cathedral of Scars map and its beautiful Dreaming City setting to the latest version of Destiny. You guys are getting a map port, bitches! You ain't even getting anything new! At least the PvP guys got a new map! The Gambit people got nothing!
Yeah, that's funny. It's funny because, yeah, that is another great point. A lot of the stuff they're adding in Destiny 2, they're just porting stuff from older content, from like Destiny 1 or from like content that already exists in the game.
Oh man, you can't make this up. God damn. Armor set rewards. A long time ago, we shared a plan to address concerns on reward balance. Players have pointed out that we didn't release a new armor set for the Ritual playlist. With Lightfall, they'll release the Eververse expansions, you know, the paid for skins up the those will drive right into those hit the roadmap like a drunk driver on Mardi Gras, bro. not the Ritual playlist stuff. No, none of that. You know, it's very rare that even the Ritual sets look good enough to use, but anyways. Delivering Ritual armor sets at the rates we have in the past have become increasingly challenging, especially considering these sets have historically had a very low adoption by players. Yeah, because they're ugly, okay? You save the good ones for the cash shop, which I get it, okay?
Yeah, I get it too. It makes sense, but yeah, who gives a shit? Like, who really gives a fuck about the cosmetics? Especially when you're playing and fighting, you can't see that shit. You can only really see that shit when you're in town or emoting or whatever. But yeah, like who? I don't know. Yeah, who really gives a shit about cosmetics, man? Like, I'd rather have gameplay. I'd rather have fun doing fun fights, fun new strikes. Like, new strikes new raids, like good like single player content, not even stuff like maybe solo versions of raids. Try to like fine tune the whole solo raiding experience and make like a fun competitive scene there. Even like because like right now it's just like people can do it, but it's like super glitchy and shit. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of way they can improve the depth of the game without like actually having to add content.
Hey, you want people to spend big money, but you can't just release dog shit and say, yeah, well, people aren't using it. Of course they're not, okay? They're human beings, not rats. At this time, we are amending our delivery plan for how often we refresh these sets, and will no longer be creating a new set for every... I mean, this is just hilarious to me, man. To be honest with you, I didn't expect much out of Destiny. Like, my expectations were low, but holy shit. They have managed to take those expectations and slam them to the goddamn center of the earth, ladies and gentlemen. I think one of the best showcases on the community is this. He was forced to make one new armor set and recolor it 3 times. Truly some Daily Motion levels of content quality. Now, to understand, obviously the Destiny 2 players are pretty pissed off in this situation, and rightfully so. You know, I think a lot of people say, oh, but Bungie's that little indie company. Maybe it is really hard for them, Muta, to make this new content. And at the end of the day, look, if you're going to keep a game...
I've watched development streams of the people at Bungie. These people absolutely love what they're doing. They're passionate about making the content that they make, and they are talented developers. There are people that are telling them no, in some cases, not to pursue this, not to complete that. We are not going to finish that. We're not going to put that in the game. There's been wealths of hidden content found in the game well before it's even released into the game. Like, those people are doing God's work. Literally, they've created a universe with these expansive worlds that are beautiful. I like, one of my favorite things about Destiny is just like riding a sparrow around the environments in the world, just like flying around, gliding around as a warlock, blowing up aliens. There's like all these beautiful colors, the trees, you see like you're on this planet with like 4 different moons, you know, like everything's cool looking. It's really fucking cool. It's a really great experience. The raid environments, the dungeons are really expansive and have a lot of detail. Everything looks really cool, and the game plays really well. And it's like, no, like, there's no way that the people that are capable of doing all that, like, can't do more unless they're being told not to. And that's the realistic, that's like the realistic scenario that happened. Is like a lot of the development team was probably pulled off to go to Marathon. That's it. They're just working with like scraps, not as many people, and they just don't know what to do anymore. And like I said, Destiny was a 10-year plan, and between Destiny 1 and 2, it's been 10 years. At this point, the game is in maintenance mode. Like it or not. I'm sorry if you're a huge Destiny fan and believer that the game is going to continue to live a long life. I don't think they're going to close the game down anytime soon, but Destiny it's a dead game. Okay? It's a dead game. It's in maintenance mode, and that's that. They might drip feed a little bit of content in here and there, but what is it really worth?
Running like this for so long, and you want to try to keep players' attrition rates necessarily high, then you should really commit to producing a level of content, at least content that you previously, committed to an extent. You know, one of the things with Destiny 2 is, like, it's a great game. It really is a good game. I would not be making this video if it wasn't for the fact that I've had hours put into this game, and I've genuinely enjoyed my time. But to see how hyper monetized this game is, and then to see the lack of delivery on even the most basic of releases, is not just bad for Destiny 2, but it's also pretty eye-opening for the state of live service-based games.
One other thing I would like to say about Destiny is, like, keep this in mind, is how out of touch the developers are with the player base, that Cade 6, the easily the most iconic, the most lovable character in the Destiny universe, they killed off. And when they did this, and they like tried to write it off like, oh, he's never gonna come back because blah blah blah, and you know, this and that. Dumbest choice I have ever seen for a video game franchise to make. You can't just kill off Cade. I was saying it back then. They're going to regret this. They're going to have to bring him back eventually. And I'm pretty sure that Cade 6 is making a comeback now. Did I hear that correctly? That Cade 6 is actually making a comeback now? That the game is widely being acknowledged as dying and shit and taking a horrible turn, especially since the last story. Suddenly they're bringing Cade back? Come on, Bungie. You know you fucked up. You couldn't leave him dead forever. You shouldn't have even killed him in the first place, you dummies.
You know, these kind of games, these experiences were pitched with the idea that we would get constantly good content throughout a period of time in stability. But in reality, in this situation,
In reality, you got content removed. You got drip-fed content while massive portions of the content was removed because it did not serve them well to have the game be that large. Because for some reason, when you download updates on consoles for these games, I don't know if this is an issue on PC, you have to download the entire game over again. Not just the new content, the entire game. So that's a large reason why a lot of this content is getting removed, because what ended up happening is you'd have to download Destiny 2, and it'll be like a 2 terabyte download, and people will be like, bro, I can't even fit this game on my console hard drive. What is happening right now? 2 terabytes? I'm out. I'm done. So yeah, there's like a huge problem with the way that the games download that. So if the game ended up becoming 2 terabytes, yeah, you'd have to download 2 terabytes every time. The game would take a fucking week to download.
This is one of the most hyper monetized games out there. They make a crap ton of cash. They definitely have the money to constantly evolve and build newer teams to meet up with that demand and provide at least what should be baseline levels of content. Destiny 2 is probably in some of the worst shape that it's been in quite a long time. And for a lot of people going into this final expansion and even thinking, man, if this is how bad Destiny 2 is getting now, could you imagine how bad Destiny 3 is going to be? That's a situation that's brought up. Hopefully, I honestly hope to God that they can turn this thing around, because I really do believe that this is a great game in the bottom. Like, at the end of the day, the core Destiny 2 is great.
I mean, I agree with him with the core of Destiny 2 being great, but I disagree with them fixing it before Destiny 3. I don't think Destiny 3 is a realistic scenario. I honestly believe that Destiny is dead. And this is not just like haterism, like, oh, you know, dead game, blah, 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 the so-so is the Destiny killer. No, like, they had a 10-year plan. They've hit their 10-year marker. The game is, like, legitimately just in maintenance mode. So while, yes, it might get updates, it's not going to be significant. You know what other game is in maintenance mode that still get updates, but they're not really significant? A little game called Final Fantasy XI. It's like a 22, 23-year-old MMO. Still has people subscribing to it. Still has you pay $10 or something for the game, which is not a big deal, but 23 years later, they're still drip-feeding people content based on the little amount of subscribers they have and people engaging with the cash shop for that game. But is that game a live game anymore? Can you honestly say it's a live game anymore? No. It's dead. Final Fantasy XI is dead. It's my favorite game of all time, and it hurts me to say that it's dead. But it's important to recognize that just because a game is available and running does not mean it's truly alive. It could be on life support, it could be on maintenance mode, and that is the tragic reality of Destiny. It is in maintenance mode at this point. That's it. I think the future is marathon, and Destiny 3 essentially might as well be marathon PvE, because I don't think marathon will succeed as a fully PvP game in its own. I think they will add PvE, and Destiny 3 will essentially be marathon, and they will pick up where they left off, try to incorporate the universe into the same timeline, and then that's it. Marathon is the future.
It's just everything surrounding it is a pile of fecal matter. And realistically, for gamers, you don't have to spend your money or your time playing Destiny 2. There's far better games out there right now, even in the same vein.
That is true.
I would just say, if you're going to spend your money on a game right now,
I'm going to cut him off there. If you want to find out what game he was about to say, I think it was obvious. I'm going to put the link to his video in the description of my video when I upload it. But yeah, I absolutely agree with a lot of what Mutahar is saying. Destiny 2 is in a terrible spot. It is important for fans to realize and acknowledge that it's in maintenance mode and to talk about it openly, so maybe Bungie can acknowledge the fact that, hey, maybe we're wrong and we don't want this game to die, or maybe we should acknowledge the fact that the game is in maintenance mode and let people try to experience other games so they come into our next game feeling refreshed and wanting to give us another chance, instead of feeling like they were just taken advantage of for months at a time. Great video, Mutahar. Check him out, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.